You know, thinking about it, survival horror games may just be my favourite genre of video games. Not all of them, you know, some of them are a little too scary for my liking, but when it comes to classic survival horror games like Resident Evil, there's just something so good about them. There's just that feeling of tension and claustrophobia and mystery that you just don't get with many games these days. I mean, take Resident Evil 2 for example, one of the first games I ever played on the original PlayStation. I just remember being terrified and yet so intrigued at the same time. It was such a unique experience. And then when Resident Evil 4 came around, well, I honestly didn't think games could get any better. I had never played, and in some cases still haven't played a game as good as that instant classic. So when my cousin introduced me to a game called Deadly Premonition, a survival horror game exclusive to the Xbox 360 here in the UK, I went in a little skeptical. I mean, can you blame me? For the past 7 years I've pretty much watched my favourite game series of all time be drove straight into the ground. So what I was expecting was a bland, short and, well, to be honest, boring Japanese survival horror game. What I wasn't expecting was this.
Did you see that, Zach? Clear as a crisp spring morning. F.K. in the coffee. I knew I could count on it. Never fails. Now then, let's get going.
Alright, okay, I know what you're thinking after watching that. Who taught a toddler how to program Dreamcast games? But really, this somehow is one of the best games I've ever played. So Deadly Premonition revolves around FBI Special Agent Francis York Morgan, an eccentric but well-meaning FBI agent who travels to the small northwestern town of Greenville to investigate the murder of Anna Graham, a popular young woman who's died under mysterious circumstances. If there are any Twin Peaks fans out there, don't worry just yet, because even though the basic premise of Deadly Premonition is identical to that of Twin Peaks, its similarities do pretty much stop there. Well, okay, so Deadly Premonition is just Twin Peaks the game, and yes, the game was delayed for 3 years because of how closely the original build resembled the TV series, but that doesn't mean that Deadly Premonition doesn't have a unique story of its own. In fact, if you are a major Twin Peaks fan, I guarantee that after an hour, you'll just stop noticing the similarities. Okay, to this point I should probably point out that Deadly Premonition wasn't really very well received when it was first released, and for good reason, because it's sort of terrible. I think I'm being quite fair if I say that Deadly Premonition's gameplay leaves a lot to be desired. Its combat is atrocious and its driving sections are frustrating at best. Hell, even opening a door is a pain in the arse when you first start playing. But for some reason these elements sort of made the game better. It was probably accidental, but the shooting mechanics made the game far more tense than modern day survival horror games. And even the terrible map screen, arguably one of the game's stupidest design choices, actually proves to be quite useful, because you're forced to remember the layout of town mainly from memory. Before you know it, you don't even need to open up the map screen anymore. The game is split into 2 worlds. The first, a GTA-style free roaming section, which allows you to explore the town freely. You can complete side quests for other townsfolk, build up supplies, and of course travel from one crime scene to another. Surprisingly, this section's quite unique. All of the townsfolk have their own daily rituals, and you can observe them as they go from one house to another, from their jobs to visit their family, and it's unlike anything I've ever seen in a video game before. It's fascinatingly strange. The other half of the game sees York travel to the Shadow World. The Shadow World is an odd, corrupted version of the real world, in which York fights weird zombie-like enemies, as well as the game's primary antagonist, the Raincoat Killer. Oddly enough, it's also where York collects clues that are vital towards his investigation. Using his premonition powers or something, York is able to understand what really happened in these crime scenes. It's a little strange, but this is a game in which the main character takes most of his advice from his morning cup of toffee, so it's probably not worth looking into it too much. These 2 sections complement each other incredibly well, and as a whole, Deadly Premonition contains some of the most exciting and even disturbing moments I've ever experienced in a video game. But what truly makes Deadly Premonition worth your time is its cast of characters. Yort is odd. In fact, one of the major plot points is that Yort speaks to a man in his head called Zat. Zat is as much a main character as Yort is, despite never actually saying anything. It's strange, but it works surprisingly well. Yort is incredibly likeable, and you'll find yourself growing attached to him quickly as the investigation progresses. Other notable characters include Mr. Stewart and his adopted son Michael, who speaks only in rhyme, Thomas, an incredibly calm police officer, the sheriff, George Woodman, Polly Otsford, the hotel owner. I could list all of the characters that are within the game. Each are as incredibly fleshed out as the last, surprisingly. By the end of the game, you'll be so attached to this cast of characters, you'll physically be unable to stop playing. As a closing comment, just remember this game is frustrating to play. It's not to everyone's taste, but if you're a fan of either the survival horror genre or just games that are a little bit weird and out there, you're going to absolutely adore Deadly Premonition, and I cannot recommend this game enough. You can pick up the game new for around £18 from sites such as Play.com and Amazon, and also for around a tenner second hand if you're that way inclined. Unfortunately, the game is currently Xbox exclusive, but don't worry PlayStation 3 fans, as an enhanced edition is reportedly coming out towards the end of the year. The enhanced edition is reported to have extra content, including move support, so it's nice to say that the game is officially getting a PlayStation 3 release here in the West. Well, thank you for watching another episode of The Bargain Bin. For more news, reviews and previews, head on over to gamination.co.uk, and of course subscribe for more test drives and bargain bins from me, Liam Richardson. Thanks guys, and I'll see you later.